off, and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think
He missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard. Hello and welcome to the American Sim Racing Camping World Truck Series. This is round 14, coming to you from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park in Canada, live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman, and with me in the booth are Evan Pasoko and special guest Joe Peak. Behind the scenes doing all the button pushing is our director Kevin Brown, and our camera sets are provided by Dougie Beard. This is a one road course on the American Sim Racing Truck Series schedule, and it is a very tricky one indeed. Times were very sparse. During practice, there will be one pit stop required during the race, a 32-lap race. They can get about 17, 18 laps on fuel, so really not going to see a whole lot of fuel strategy. A fixed setup, a setup here that gets a lot of wheel spin. These drivers are really going to have to control their right foot coming out of the corners. And what's more about road courses, there will be no cautions during this race. So if you go off, you're going to have to try and get back on, and you're probably going to lose a few seconds in the process. Our championship standings, here are the top 10 after 13 rounds. And I'll tell you right now, you probably can't see this on screen, but these are probably the 10 drivers you're going to see locked into the chase, which will be beginning in 2 rounds, because after Aaron Kleinhahn's in 10th place, there's a big drop-off to the rest of the drivers. So really, these points don't mean a whole lot, because they'll all be reset after Chicagoland in 2 weeks' time. But I'll tell you what, all these drivers are going to be going for the win, because I believe you do get bonus points entering the chase if you win a race or 2 before the chase starts. Now, because this is a road course, we need to teach you guys what the circuit is like. So let's go on our lap guide in the Camping World Truck Series truck here with Kevin Brown.
All right, Kevin Brown is behind the wheel of the GSRC Silverado, so let's do a lap around MoSport. Coming up to turn 1, the track is going to drop away, and yet you're really not going to brake very hard for this fast sweeper. Biggest danger is putting a wheel off at the exit, because it's going to send you straight into the wall on your right. From there, you've got the crest that leads to 2. Super blind corner. This thing is all about commitment, and if you send it in wrong, I hope you like the taste of tire barrier. After 2, no time to relax, because you got to send the car to the left to set up for 3. It is possible to sneak one up the inside here, but only with a good run. Late apex on this corner, even though it really opens up on the exit. Switch back to the right, and once again, no visibility on entry into 4. You want to hold tight to the left as you plunge down the hill to give you the best line possible into Moss Corner. The car is seriously going to compress at the bottom, so you can brake much later than you'd expect. And as you climb back up, hit the first apex, drift out, then make sure you've got a nice straight line to launch out of the second apex. This is the longest portion of the circuit you're going to have your foot all the way down. This is called the Andretti Straight, and it's anything but. Lots of crests and bends as you go along, and there's even a nasty bump to the left at the end of it. Drivers will want to keep away from that as they enter turn 8. This fast anti-camber right-hander marks the start of the S's, and it's also a potential passing zone on either side with the way it switches back. Make sure and hug the right-hand side the whole way, and then chuck it into 9. Same deal with this one. Stay left on the exit to set up for the final corner. For this one, barely clip that inside curve, feather back onto the throttle, and you've finished a lap around MoSport.
And as you can imagine, with this being a road course race and qualifying just finishing up right now, we are going to have different names up top. And with 10 seconds left to go in qualifying, Tommy Ryan in the number 16 truck has a 7/10 of a second lead over the rest of the field, over a name that is familiar to ASRS viewers, Ricky Harding, currently lined up in second. And I'm going to hand it over to my co-commentator, Joe Peak. Joe, what are you looking forward to about this race?
Well, obviously, always looking forward to oval guys take their hand at a road course, and especially in a truck like the Silverado. I mean, this thing is extremely tricky around here. I think consistency is really going to pay off. The guys that put in their practice and aren't pushing 110% are just, racing to their level are the ones that you're going to see out on top. And that's what I'm really going to relish, is see who has the chops, not only out there on the ovals, but, doing right turns as well as left.
Yeah, and we are seeing Ricky Hardin is on the hot lap here. However, he would have to pull off 7/10 of a second on Tommy Ryan. To reiterate, this is going to be a 32-lap race. These trucks can get about 18 laps on fuel. We're not going to see any cautions, so honestly, there's not going to be a whole lot of strategy. You'll pretty much see everyone pit at the same time. Ricky Hardin in the number 98 truck. Oh, and he slides. Well, able to save it though. I don't know if it's going to cost him a 10th. He's really pushing it though, trying to get pole position away from Tommy Ryan. And I've got to be honest, Joe, I'm not actually sure right now if we can see a standing or a rolling start here, and he comes into the pits. He's aboard the lap.
Well, we're going to find out in a moment as soon as we see if the pace car is out in front of the field when they start to line up on the grid.
And we should see that any second now, because Ricky Hardin was the last driver on track. Now, we had 13 trucks turn laps in practice, 10 trucks turned the laps in qualifying. However, all 13 are still here, so I'm going to guess the 3 trucks that didn't turn the lap in qualifying ran off course during their qualifying laps, and in that case, their qualifying lap does not count. We are going to see a rolling start, which actually disappoints me a little bit, but honestly, that's probably for the best.
Yeah, I think these guys are probably well more used to starting behind the pace car and getting things going. I have to imagine that these cars are going to be, very tricky to do from a standing start. So it's probably nice for them to be able to have at least that nicety as the pace car starts to finally peel out here.
Yeah, pace car peeling out very quickly. The drivers were quick to grid up, so we're not having anyone have second thoughts about starting from pit road. So Tommy Ryan is going to start from pole position in that Northern Tools and Equipment number 16 Chevy Silverado. Lined up alongside him is Ricky Hardin. Jonathan Cadell is in third, with Gary Whitson, our points leader, in fourth place. Bryce Whitson lost a few places in the points at Bristol last week. He will start fifth, alongside Michael Krobach in sixth. And then league organizer Jim Foose starts in seventh. And then Cody Gibson in the number 07 truck starts in 8th place. Alex Bates and Tim Knott round out the top 10. David Gibson, Aaron Kleinhans, Carson Arbe did not set on the qualifying lap, so they will all start from the back. And I've got to be honest, Joe, I think this is going to be a race of attrition. Not because I doubt the talent of these drivers, but because MoSport is an unforgiving track. If you go off, especially at turn 2, there's not a whole lot you can do to save it.
No, there really isn't. And honestly, you're right. It's difficult even for some of the most experienced road racers. So it's really, of all the courses that they could have chosen for these trucks to run on, it's really going to throw these guys in at the deep end, that's for sure. And with the barriers being very close on pretty much every corner, there's just not a lot of room for mistakes around here.
And look at the leaders already. They keep falling far back of a pace car and then gas it up and really catch up with the pace car. They are already trying to warm up their rear tyres, knowing they're going to need all that grip, not only off the starting line, but also exiting these turns as well. These trucks have a fixed setup, and I can tell you from experience, a fixed setup is not very good on acceleration. It really likes to kick your truck sideways. And really, Joe, these tyres are only good for about a lap, and then we're going to start to see the truck slide around a little bit.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. So tire management is really going to be critical throughout the race. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw guys take tires when they come into the pits.
Alright, well here we go. Pace car has peeled off. He is going down pit road and he will stay there for 32 laps. Ricky Hardin already on the gas, but he's not the pole sitter. Tommy Ryan gets a good jump on Ricky, and they are going to have to try and get single file through turns 1 and 2 if they want to get through cleanly. Top 4 are all single file. Tommy Ryan, back end already kicking out as it goes down to turn 2. This is the tricky turn I was talking about. You do not want to overshoot this corner, because if you as so much as get one wheel into that grass, it's game over. But looks like they've all gotten around cleanly on the first turn, although I do see Carson Arbe in the ball at the back, but not too much damage.
Yeah, we saw Whitson and Foose go through into too wide, but thankfully their cooler heads on and both backed out of it and went single file. In fact, most of them seem to already be slotting in, so it looks like everybody's kind of settling in for a long race here.
Absolutely, they're taking it very cautiously right now as they navigate their way down the backstretch on the first lap, and we call it a backstretch. It's not very straight at all, but Tommy Ryan has done what we've been expecting him to do, judging by the practice and qualifying times, and that's track out a little bit. Although I'll be honest, Joe, Ricky Harden is keeping him honest, at least in these early stages. The back end of Ricky Harden's truck goes sliding out in that turn again, just like we saw him do in qualifying.
Yeah, this is precisely what Tommy Ryan needs to do at this point, is try to get himself a nice, comfortable gap so that he doesn't have to be watching his mirrors. Right now, his focus needs to be on the track and not the other cars. And so he's kind of doing the right thing for our road racing fans and kind of pulling a Vettel.
Yeah, Vettel of 2013 more like. Alright, well here we go, Tommy Ryan going through turn 2. I'm sorry, but I have to keep my eyes planted on this corner every single lap because Cody Gibson is the one who goes wide this time, and look, there's nothing he can do. It's out into the wall and one truck behind him. Aaron Kleinhans, who is right on 10th place in the points, but he is able to avoid the wall. And I'll tell you what, Cody Gibson got a lucky escape. His truck does have damage, but it could have been a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah, as we watch the replay, he took a fair thunk into those tire barriers, so he's definitely going to have some damage. The question is how much. Amazingly, he's actually not in last after that off. He's still got Aaron Kleinhaus and Tim Knott behind him.
Yeah, Van David Gibson, who actually had the spin at the corner, as opposed to these drivers who overshot the turn, he undershot it and has fallen the last place, but doesn't have any damage on his truck. Knocking on wood, but I've got to say I'm mightily impressed that these trucks are still going around.
We've got contact up between Jim Foose and Gary Whitson, though, into turn 8.
Yes, you're two of the drivers who helped run the league here. In fact, the league organisers, Jim Foose, who's able to escape this battle. Now look behind him, Michael Pocock and Bryce Wilson side by side.
And Krobach is the one that comes out on top in that as they head into turn 1. Very fast downhill plunge through there in that right-hander. And then immediately you can see they've got to get set up for 2, which we keep talking about, but you can't harp on this corner enough. You can watch as they track out, and then you got to double apex this thing and come back in as Krobach gets just a little bit squirrely there.
And Cody Gibson almost goes off at turn 2 again, and the truck behind him does. Aaron Kleinhans. And Aaron's going to be able to get back on the track again. Lucky escape for these drivers so far. They can only hold on for so long, I believe, as we're watching a heck of a battle up here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Oh,
and off
Krobach.
goes Jim Foose and hits me Whitson.
And they're once again hitting side by side. And Whitson comes off the worst of that as he's actually getting passed by Bryce Whitson Jr. as well. But Jim Foose has been in the wars, and we're only on lap 3, is it? Yeah, lap 3. And he breaks very early, giving the spot up to Krobach.
I can't believe these guys are racing this hard this early on. I thought they would be racing single file, just trying not to go off each turn. And Michael Krobach, that's exactly what he does. He goes off. He does it in the best place on the track, right in front of pit road, and he's going to come down and get repairs.
Well, at least he had the heads up to just slide it on into there. These guys are really bringing that oval mentality out here. So it sounds like we got a spin.
Alex Bates, it looks like, was going slow, but he's back on track now. He was off in turn 1.
Yeah, sounds like it was, in fact, Alex Bates, and it looks like the rear end started to come out on him on the entry to the corner. Very easy to do if you're not paying attention to how you're braking and turning in. Just took a nice little hit on that inside concrete barrier.
Aaron Kleinhans has gone around in turn 2, getting back on track again, but a lot of damage to that green truck. He's been around there a few times today. But I'll tell you what, Joe, something I've been keeping half an eye on is while all these drivers have been battling and spinning, our top 3 drivers are actually well held together. Tommy Ryan, Ricky Hardin, and Jonathan Cadell.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I was talking about before. It's those guys that are just kind of running their pace, so to speak. They're not pushing too hard or battling too hard for that matter. Some of road course racing is that you kind of have to learn when to give up the ghost. There's a give and take in this style of racing too, and if you fight too hard, you risk making contact, and that can pay a lot harsher dividends in this side of racing.
Meanwhile, we're watching two drivers who are completely ignoring what you were just saying, and that's the Whitson brothers, who are continuing to battle for fifth position, with Gary Whitson currently in front and Jim Foose in front of them for fourth place. Jim Foose started seventh, so he's done well so far. They slide out at turn two, but able to keep out on track, and this battle continues.
And Foose, I'm amazed that he's still up in fourth after multiple contacts with other cars. And he's doing a good job of holding these guys off at this point. The question is, it's with this early in the race, I'm not sure how long he can hold them back if he's struggling with a damaged car. Oh, and he's got a little bit of help from behind.
All 13 trucks are still on the lead laps. This is all still a competition, and yeah, Jim Foose doing a couple of little knocks there. This battle going on about 10 seconds back of the leaders, and Gary Whitson's going to get a slipstream here. I don't think this is your best overtaking opportunity on the track, but Gary may try and prove me wrong, and he is. He dives it down the inside in that number 13 Sunoco Silverado and is able to hold on to the position. Is Jim Foose going to return the contact?
I remember we saw that move. I can't remember if it was Gary last one.
Oh,
and
and
he
Jim
is
goes
gonna.
down the inside.
Oh, that was a desperate
who
move.
Was it? Ty Dillon and Chase Elliott, how they finished the race there last year. Then,
yeah, that was.
Jim Foose just went down the inside, and Gary Whitson didn't want to give him the turn. But then, mind you, Jim Foose did come from a long ways back.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Usually, I don't like to pass judgment mid-race, but that was a dive bomb if I've ever seen one.
Meanwhile, an update, two trucks have gone the lap down. Davidson has just been lapped, and also Michael Krobach is currently showing as one lap down. I'm not actually sure if he's still on the track, but the three leaders have put Gibson the lap down. As we're saying, no cautions, so if you're going to get a lap back in this race, you're going to have to do it the hard way.
That Sunoco truck took a nice little side swipe. I have to hope that he didn't get any suspension damage in that. Sounds like we got a car turning around. It's Alex Bates once again.
Yeah, for the second time, though, he's able to hold on to it, and I believe our director called this a bit of practice. Alex Bates was sliding around, but able to hold on to his truck, and I apologise. I said Michael Krobach may have not been on the track anymore. He is the truck right there in front of Alex Bates at number 7. And Gary Whitson, meanwhile, is racing Alex Bates for position. That's not them on the track together, that's Michael Krobach in between them. But Gary Whitson is really falling back with that damage, losing the position to a lap truck, and that may cost him 6th place to Alex Bates here.
Yeah, as Krobach goes by there, Alex Bates takes a little bit of a peek on the inside of one, but decides better of it. And whoa, a truck sliding very wide for Krobach coming through one, almost loses the position back. And now he's going off the track along with Bates.
Oh, and Bates, yeah. I can't believe that none of these guys have put it in the wall harder than what they have. But let's not forget that Krobach started 6th place. He is half decent at this track. He got the hang of it in qualifying. He's just had a bit of bad luck putting him a lap down today. Carson Orbey has also gone a lap down.
Well, remember the old honey badger Jim Foose? Now he's got Bryce Whitson Jr. behind him trying to get that position. Question is he going to suffer the same fate? Because, boy, Jim is not eager to give up that spot today.
No. Yeah, no, Jim Foose doing a nice job. He's still 15 seconds back of the top 3 trucks and actually got a bit of lap traffic coming up in front of him. Bryce Whitson seems quite content just to follow him. Gary Whitson has now been able to put a bit of a gap, obviously, on Alex Bates, who went off and has, in fact, lost 7th place to Cody Gibson. And around goes Michael Krobach. No, he's able to save it. Michael Grobok, he's a lap down and he's finally bringing it down pit road. He's got a lot of damage on that truck. You can see it sliding around everywhere.
Yeah, as we watch the replay of that. And actually, Grobok just exited out of the race. I think he cried enough.
Yeah, I think he realised that it was kind of a game over at that point. Bryce Whitson makes a pass down the inside of Jim Foose. He's going to try and take 4th position.
He's got it for now. Foose is not far back, and they're heading up towards Moss Corner. That is a passing zone if you're daring. He's very far back, though. I don't think he's going to try it this time. No, he finally holds back, but as I say that, just a little bit too much curb for Whitson as they have a lapped car.
David Gibson went off behind him, and Carson Allday, the lap truck going off, but yeah, there was a bit of action from the lap trucks there.
And
so lots of action going on down there that time in Moss Corner, but as you say, Bryce Wilson still holds that 4th place in front of Jim Foose.
And we're getting word that Gibson is reeling in Carson Abe. That's David Gibson, actually. And that's for 11th and 12th positions. Those are the final 2 spots on track. These guys still fighting for it, though.
Yeah, but look at both their trucks. They're both quite well beat up, but you've got to give them credit for staying out there and persevering. They don't want to make a pit stop and lose all that time that comes with that. So yeah, Michael Grobok is out of the race. Those 2 drivers are running 11th and 12th, just outside the points.
Gibson had 2 wheels off. That's a miraculous save to keep the car on the black stuff through turn 2. But, you know, that's one of the nice things, as just behind him, Alex Bates almost slides out from 7th position. He's a lap up on them. But I was going to say, I mean, these aren't little formula cars. That's the nice thing, is that these trucks can at least take a little bit of a beating.
Yeah, no, I mean, it looks like half the field has at least one dent on this car. Meanwhile, Alex Bates and the Cody Gibson battle we're watching now, navigating their way through the slap traffic of Carson Orbay and Cody Gibson. And up front, and Carson Orbay going slow, but that's because it's letting the leaders by. And David Gibson loses control down the backstretch and in the wall, but not too much damage still.
He continues on. That was an interesting place to lose it. I guess as he slowed, he just got on the gas just a little too much and lost it in a straight line. That shows you just how much power these trucks have.
Yeah, just how much power, kind of like Pascal Maldonado and Lopez at Spa the other week. But, what was I going to say? The top 3 trucks, that's right. Tommy Ryan, let's catch up with these 3. Tommy Ryan has about 2 seconds in front of Ricky Hardin. Jonathan Cadell, meanwhile, has fallen back an extra 4 seconds. He is 6 seconds back of leader Tommy Ryan. So these 3 trucks up front still together, and the 3 trucks from 4th to 6th still kind of together as well, but they're all spaced out a little bit now.
Ricky Hardin, like you said earlier, he's really keeping Tommy Ryan in check, keeping him honest up there with less than 2 seconds between them. So all it's really going to take is him keeping the pressure on. He doesn't have to be right up behind him. If Tommy makes some sort of mistake, puts a couple wheels off or something, that can cost him 2 seconds easily. Or run into lap traffic.
Yeah, meanwhile, they're putting the leaders are putting Tim Knott a lap down there. Tommy Ryan able to get by them. He is working his way on lap 11 now, so within about 5 laps or so, we should begin to see these leaders make pit stops. Definitely,
and one thing is going to be for sure, it's pit stop practice is going to really help around here because the entry into it is a corner in itself. So guys who have done it a few times will be able to gain a second or 2 here.
So meanwhile, we go back to watch Cody Gibson working on Alex Bates here for 7th position. And they're coming down to turn 1 right now. Then they're coming up to our favourite turn 2, which was that left and where they like to slide out on the exit a bit. Alex Bates is the number 45 truck, looking pretty good right now, despite having a couple of slides today. Cody Gibson in the Scooby-Doo truck has had a couple of scares, but has been able to scare off the bad guys so far.
Well, and he probably would have got away with it too if it weren't for those meddling kids, I'm sure. But anyways, Whitson is Gary Whitson actually is within about a half second of Jim Foose, and that's for 5th and 6th. Foose, ever since that early contact, has been slowly but surely dropping down. Although he was higher up than he qualified. He started in 7th, so he gained some positions at the start. And since then has just kind of been falling like a rock. I guess he's kind of slipping back to where his pace implies.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm getting word that one of the trucks is off track. I can't catch it right now. As Bryce Whitson is coming into the pits from 4th place. He doesn't have any damage. This is a scheduled pit stop, and Jim Foose and Gary Whitson will go by him. And remember, it was Gary and Jim who got together earlier, so I wonder if there's any bad blood about that.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. I'm sure he doesn't forget that. Now, whether or not it's bad blood, don't know, but I'm sure he's going to give him at least a wider berth or make sure that it's a more definitive move. Or maybe he just was going to cover off the position a little bit better this time, knowing he'll try and send one up the inside if there's the slightest gap.
Well, they're coming around this long right-hander here, and then they begin the acceleration up to the crest of the hill, which leads down the corner, which, as you mentioned earlier, is an overtaking opportunity. However, Gary Whitson a little bit far back right now. He might have to wait till the end of the lap if he tries that. Oh, meanwhile, Jim Foose makes a mistake there, and Gary Whitson actually hops over the curves, goes airborne, but Jim Foose also made a mistake, but Gary couldn't capitalize because he was flying an airplane.
You know, critically, that Jim Foose got the better exit out of Moss Corner, and that's one of the things that really can help you keep you from being vulnerable down into turn 8. Is just get yourself a good exit, and look at how much later he's braking. In fact, he's completely by him. I thought he wasn't vulnerable, but wow, these guys are taking incredibly late dives. Either that or Foose is very, very early on the brakes into that corner.
Well, that's the second time that we've seen Gary make a move like that into that corner. And meanwhile, Evan, I've got to say, what do you think of this battle for 4?
These guys are battling really hard. Jim Foose has now dropped back to 5th. Gary Whitson obviously taking the number 4 position in that, but Foose isn't far off. He's trailing him right now by 2 truck lengths. I don't think these guys are done. However, it looks like that 13 truck may be a snug quicker.
Oh, and Jim gets... Oh, wow, nice save.
Yeah, impressive. We've seen a couple of those today, and Foose manages to hold on to it as we watch the replay.
Meanwhile, I'll tell you that Tim Knott is in the pits making a scheduled pit stop. Now, these drivers do not have what is referred to in iRacing as free repairs. And I'll tell you, Tim Knott's actually in the pits for a long time, so I have a feeling he's got more damage on that truck. And it looks like Jim Foose is off again.
In Moss Corner, and he got just a little bit wide out in that gravel on the outside there.
Yeah, Jim Foose is starting to struggle. I almost wonder if he wants to make his pit stop now, get it done with early, and get some new parts on that thing.
Some new tires and probably some repair. I can't see this being strictly tires for him because he's been having a hard time holding guys off since early in the race. So I imagine some of his early contact has really affected the handling, and that's what's causing him to struggle so hard.
Meanwhile, one driver who has made the pits is Jonathan Cadell. He is coming out on fresh tyres. He came in 3rd, and he actually comes out of the pits in 3rd. So he's not going to lose anything. He's just got to try and get some hot laps on. If he doesn't overshoot the corner on those cold tyres, almost goes off at turn 2 and throws it all away. But Jonathan Cadell could have just made a good strategy call here, Evan.
Yeah, and this is just short of the halfway point, 32 on the board, coming in at the transition of lap 13 to lap 14. So Cadelli has a very clean race truck also, something to mention. A lot of these guys very torn up. 29 machine, not only in good condition, but also looking pretty fast. Just trying to get some heat in those tires as he works through the S's.
And that's David Gibson just ahead of him, who went off and completely gets out of the way, letting Jonathan Cadell put another lap on him. So with Gibson now 2 laps down, he is not having a good race. In fact, he is dead last on track at the moment.
Speaking of the Gibsons, the mystery machine has just made his pit stop. Cody Gibson comes out of the pits on a new set of tyres on lap 14. He was running 7th place when he came in, and he's now down to 8th.
So as pit stops shuffle them all around, we're going to get a better idea of how everybody is going to wind up once those are through. But a lot of guys are in various positions along the track, and that they're not really close enough for battles. I do see Alex Bates and Jim Foose are pretty close, about a second or so apart, but nobody really having any battles. So now is the time where guys really need to get their heads down and just try and get some good laps in now that they don't have to worry about anybody else.
And I'll tell you what, talking about there not being any battles, up front, that's because Tommy Ryan over the last few laps has been checking out on Ricky Hardin. He currently has a 5-second lead, Evan.
Yeah, Hardin not too long ago, it was about 3.5 seconds that separated those two the last time by. Tommy Ryan was able to put down a 1:26.3, Hardin a 1:27.7. So Tommy Ryan putting down some solid laps. We're going to get an accurate number here when scoring cycles through. Ricky Hardin going to cross the start-finish line, and that gap is going to remain nearly identical. So Hardin picking it back up a little bit, but again, that has been extended to now a 5-second gap.
And now I've got to begin wondering, Joe, what lap time is Jonathan Cadell going to run at this lap? He's about to come through the final 2 corners, and if he can run a 1:26 or maybe even a 1:25, if he can keep up that pace for 1 or 2 more laps, he may be able to leapfrog Ricky Hardin on strategy. He comes across the line now, and it is a 1:26. So yeah, Ricky Hardin needs to get down pit road and get off of those tires.
Yeah, pulling what we call the undercut in road racing. So Jonathan Cadell, obviously a little bit savvy, or maybe he made a lucky call here. I highly doubt that was strictly luck, though, as he wheels it around turn 2 there.
Battle for 6th shaping that. 5th. Alex Bates in front of Jim Foose.
And once again, we get to see Foose try to battle it out as he takes a look onto 2 and puts it into the grass as they come upon the lap traffic of David Gibson, who spins in front of him and somehow manages to avoid both of them. And he seems to be out of the race, actually.
Yeah, and honestly, it's 2 laps on, so I wouldn't blame him. But what happened there is Alex Bates came over to the left to try and avoid the lap truck of David Gibson. And as you say, Jim Foose had to take to the grass to avoid him. I think that was on Jim Foose, actually. He should have been a little bit more heads up and realised, hey, Alex has got to get by a lap truck here.
Yeah, kind of got to keep your eye on what we call the F3 box in iRacing. It's a little...
Hey, the leaders are in.
All right, so we're going to see if this undercut is going to work for Jonathan Cadell. Ricky Hardin is still sitting in his slot. Tommy Ryan is just exiting now.
Ricky exits, but Jonathan Cadell is still far behind. But I'll tell you what, Evan, this is where Jonathan could capitalize, because Ricky's on cold tires. He's going to be sliding around a bit. Jonathan's tires are warm and grippy. He may be able to catch up with Ricky here.
Yeah, he can see him up in front of him out of that front windshield. He's going to have to capitalize on that. Last time he ran a 1:27, so Cadell, not the smoothest lap of the night for him the last time by for sure, but you really got to capitalize in these first few corners as both Hardin and even Tommy Ryan a little bit further ahead of those guys. Even those guys, again, on cold tires, you got to get a little bit of heat in them, as we saw when a couple other guys came down pit road, such as Cadell. Tires get a little bit cold there, and braking's a little sensitive, and wow, Cadell overdrives that one down in Moss Corner. He just spins it out, he hangs on as he continues to try to trace down Ricky Hardin.
And I tell you what, just how hard these guys are pushing, Sam. The top 3 have not had a clean lap yet, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and clean lap, by the way, means a lap where all your 4 wheels stay on the grey stuff. But if you know what you can get away with in road course racing, mind you, I think there's an incident point limit for these guys. You should be all right. Now they're working their way around the lap truck of having Clean Hans, who actually comes into the pits, so that won't matter for these drivers. Yeah, I've been impressed with how Ricky Hardin, as David Gibson has retired from the race, I've been impressed with how Ricky Hardin has been able to get these tires warms up to temperature pretty quick, and he has a 3.5 second lead over Jonathan Cadell, Evan.
Yeah, we're just hearing now the 45 of Alex Bates is going to come down for service this next cycle through as he works up out of Moss Corner and down into the final handful, down into White's Corner there, and now onto the pit road access lane. So 45 is in for service. But yeah, the gap, Ricky Harden to Tommy Ryan, that's 3.3. And Cadell to Harden, almost another, that's 3.5 seconds. So Cadell is about 7 out of the lead, but he is trying to work pretty hard. But Ricky Harden did a solid job, guys. He picked up nearly 2 seconds on that cycle of pit stops.
And I've been impressed with Alex Bates. They're currently running in fifth position in the number 45 Silverado as he comes into the pits, because he has slid off about twice today, or almost slid off, yet I do not see a single scratch on that truck. If he's able to come out of this race with the top 5 with an intact truck, well done to him.
Risk management, my friend. That guy is doing a good job of staying cool when things go wrong. You know, you can go off track and get away with it, like you said, but it just takes knowing what to do in each situation, like we've seen here. Go ahead.
Something's happened to Tommy Ryan. Ricky Harden is a lot closer to him this lap, I think. Oh, okay, maybe not. It just looked closer.
The accordion effect, as we like to call it.
Yeah, meanwhile, there's actually a battle going on for 10th. Knott, who had that excessively long pit stop just a while ago, has got by Carson Orbay. Tim was in the pits for at least over a lap, but his truck looks a lot better now, and he's just made his way back up into the top 10.
And remember, we were talking about Jim Foose. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I thought he had taken a stop. He's actually heading in for his stop now, so he's going to cycle back down through the order. I was completely off on that call I was about to make.
Jim has a lot of damage to his truck.
The 07 guys, real quick here. Cody Gibson had some trouble going down into corner number 5 there. Moss Corner got sideways and off track out through the sand and into the tire barriers hard with the right side, and has since escaped. Not currently on the racetrack as we take a look at the replay right now. Has not officially retired from the sim, but he has taken a tow back to pit road, so heavy contact on the 07.
And Joe, he would have gotten away from it if it weren't for that meddling grass.
Nice call, nice call. So I want to hop back up front and see if the gap is changing at all, because Tommy Ryan just came across the line once again. And actually, Ricky Harding is closer by almost a second this time, actually.
Yeah, Tommy must have made a mistake that lap. Well,
so
I don't know.
We've still got 12 laps to go here on lap 20. Oh, there is still time for him to reel him in if he can keep this pace up.
Carson Orbay has had a horrid lap. He's actually been off a couple of times. He's already 2 laps down, but he actually just wrecked on the backstretch. He's got a lot of damage to that Good Sam's number 118 truck. I wouldn't be surprised to see him pull it down pit road this lap.
Yeah, looking at the replay, and before that, we could see the damage on his car is very severe, especially on the rear.
Guys, real quick, you talked about the gap between our top 2. I don't think it was something that the 16 did wrong, but Ricky Harden put down a 1:25.3, the fastest lap that he has put down all night long by almost 2 seconds on lap 18 to close that gap.
Well, he's certainly got the fire lit under him right now. I guess maybe he was conserving until the end. Whatever the case, he's doing it right now and really starting to hustle that truck, excuse me.
I've got to be honest, I'm really impressed with Ricky Harden. Now, the gap was 2.4 seconds last time around, a 1:25.8 for Tommy Ryan. He responds, but even then, about a 1:25.3 that was for Ricky Harden. He is closing that gap down. And I actually got to get out during the practice session and run a couple of laps in this truck. I was running down at 1:29, so I was off the pace. But I'll tell you what, that's exactly what Ricky was doing. Somehow, between practice and race, Ricky Harden has found 4 seconds out here. He is a quick learner, Evan.
I think it's helped that he's closed in on Tommy Ryan, so sometimes when you're out there and you're just staring at nothing, you kind of lose your concentration. If he has a car to kind of focus on, see what Tommy Ryan is doing, he may be able to adjust his line.
Meanwhile, Jonathan Cadell, who's been running third, just came in for a second pit stop, and why not, honestly? He was 20 seconds back of the top two, and he's 20 seconds ahead of anyone else, so he comes out third.
Yeah, if you've got the gap, then I suppose might as well put some fresh boots on and make life a little bit easier in the last stint. So at this point, if he's got the safety, take it.
Talking about the last stint, 11 laps left to go when these drivers cross the line, and oh boy, Ricky looked like he overshot the penultimate turn there. I've got to be honest, I think Tommy is beginning to respond. He may have opened up the gap a little bit this lap. Let's find out as they come out the final turn, cross the line once again. Tommy Ryan runs a 125.9 and Ricky runs a 126.2, so actually Tommy keeping up his time and Ricky fell off a little bit that lap.
Yeah, I've been watching on that lap, and there was a few corners where he was getting on the power a little bit too early, and the rear end was starting to come out. That's really going to bite him. So he can push, but he needs to watch out about how he's pushing, because chewing up those tires are going to make life very difficult in the end.
Yeah, meanwhile, while these two are pushing it, not a whole lot of change throughout the field. Trying to see if Cody Gibson is still on track. Cody Gibson has retired from the race, it looks like, or at least he's off circuit right now. That takes us down to 10. And I'll tell you what, we got to give an award to the driver in 10th if he finishes this race. Carson Orbey's truck looks like it's been in a demolition derby.
Yeah, you know, you can't give up. You got to just keep at it and go for it, because like you pointed out, with the number of trucks that are dropping out, it's not huge, but he's still gaining positions. And Cody, after retiring, I guess he can go enjoy a Scooby snack now.
Yeah, and I've got to be honest, Evan, I don't know if it's because Ricky used up the good in those tires, but I think Tommy's beginning to pull away again.
Yeah, we're going to get an updated scoring loop here, this time by the stripe. Tommy Ryan running a 125.1 that last time by, a 126.2 for Hardin, so that gap back up to over 3 seconds. It's 3.3 at the stripe. So Tommy Ryan back in the groove, doing what he needs to do, and that's the fastest lap that he's put down all night long that last time by.
Meanwhile, they're actually about to catch a battle for 6th place here. 7 trucks currently on the lead lap. This battle for 6th are the drivers that are still on the tail end of a lead lap. That's Jim Foose in the yellow number 2 truck and Bryce Whitson in the black 00 truck there, who actually catches up a lot with Foose in Moss Corner. But they're going to have to yield in a little bit to Tommy Ryan. And that, oh, and Jim Foose actually loses it going down the back again. Goes into the ball, able to keep control. He's going to lose the position here though, and he's got to yield to Tommy Ryan here too.
That is almost the exact same thing we saw with David Gibson earlier on, getting on the power, coming up that backstretch. You're in low gears, so it's not difficult to just overcook it, and the walls are on either side, so if you start to spin, there's really no room to bring it back straight.
And I almost wonder if it would help Jim Foose to let Ricky Hardin by here and just follow these leaders for a couple of laps and learn their braking points, because Bryce Whitson is going to have to let these leaders by in a minute, and he's going to lose a lot of time doing that.
Well, we haven't seen Jim Foose give things up easily tonight, so we'll see, as looks like, yeah, he's going to pull over politely. So good job to Jim Foose to try and just let these leaders through.
Meanwhile, Bryce Whitson is still in front of Tommy Ryan, and of course this is going to affect the lap times of leaders as well. Tommy, though, still holding out about a 2-second lead in front of Ricky, but he's still got to get by Bryce Whitson and about to catch up with him at Moss Corner. This isn't going to be easy for him to get by Bryce Whitson here, Evan.
No, it's not like he's catching up to a lap machine that is severely off pace, maybe a second quicker per lap. But that machine of the number 00, Mel Bryce Whitson Jr. is not extremely slow. Now they go up and through the Mario Andretti straightaway. The 00 showing no signs at the moment of pulling over and backing out. Tommy Ryan's got to be careful on where he's going to catch this lap traffic also, because he did lose a second to Ricky Hardin the last time by, so it went down to 2.3 seconds, the gap at the stripe. Even if that 00 tries to get out of the way, even if he catches him at a wrong spot, it could hurt that 16 machine. So Tommy Ryan needs to be patient here. He needs to plan this thing out. Now down the front straightaway, he's got it into about 2-3 truck lengths.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting Bryce Whitson to pull to the left and let him by, but that didn't happen. Bryce Whitson is really not going to make his job easy for... Oh, now he's getting on the radio. I'm going to assume he's going to give Tommy Ryan a place to let him by. Oh, don't run off at turn 2 there. That's no man's land if you get in that grass. But right now, that's still single file. But I'll tell you what, Tommy Ryan is beginning to lose time, and now Bryce Whitson goes out wide, and Tommy should get it. And now Ricky Harden is going to have the hard work to do.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes going too wide like that is not the best way to save both of you time, because you can lose it in those corners. If you just lift a little bit on as Whitson actually goes off in Moss corner.
Yeah, let's try and get a replay of that, actually. Bryce Whitson almost ran into the back of Tommy Ryan going down into Moss corner. Tommy was very lucky not to be hit by Bryce Whitson.
But yeah, I was going to say, these as we watch the replay, honestly, if you're being lapped, sometimes it pays more to just simply lift on the straight and slot in behind them, because then you're not losing both of you guys time, maybe just yourself a little bit. And even though these cars don't use a lot of draft, it could help you a little bit to follow the leader's line for a little while.
And meanwhile, they're working their way by the lap truck of Alan Cleanhearts, and the gap between the leaders is down to 1.3 seconds, but they've got 2 lap trucks in between them. However, if Bryce Whitson pulled out for Ricky Harden right now, then Ricky will be the big winner, but it doesn't look like he's in a hurry to do that. I would not go through turn 2 side by side. And let's see, I think this is where Bryce let Tommy by, so yeah, he's going to go outside again, Joe. Yeah, it's not the best way to let someone by, but I think that's...
Yeah, and looks like Ricky was able to do it with a little bit less of a holdup, able to drift out, and they actually went 3 wide for a second, I think, there with Tim Knott too.
Meanwhile, now they get to do it all over again. They're catching up with the lap truck of Alex Bates.
Yeah, Ricky Harden driving it a lot harder down into 5 there than Tommy Ryan did. Ryan needed a better runoff and down this big straightaway. And you're right, Alex Bates, the last truck on the lead lap, position number 5, is going to be now in front of Tommy Ryan. You guys talked about how Bryce Whitson, even though he tried to get out of the way, he still yielded wide. There's just not a lot of room at this racetrack. That it did affect Ricky Harden, and the fact that he really couldn't swing it out all the way wide on corner exit, which kind of took a stun, a little bit of a delay to his run there that he was working on race leader Tommy Ryan. So he's not that far off, though. He can make this in a race. However, he can't get in over his head. You can see that 16 truck just a couple of truck lengths up in front of him, but he needs to continue to ride his line. So easy to overdrive, especially when you see that truck in front of you and you try to give it a little bit too much.
Meanwhile, this is the closest blow on the track. You are not missing anything else. It's battle for first. It's where it's at, and Bryce Whitson gets the wheel off in turn 2. Stumps on the clampers, though, and is able to not slide out into the wall. From 6th place, he is half a lap ahead of Jim Fuss, so he should be able to retain his position. Very lucky for Bryce Whitson there.
Yeah, that was a good save when he saw that that was getting out from under him, and to be able to, as you said, put the binders on and get that thing slowed down. But as we watch this run up front, big bobble from Alex Bates. Tommy Ryan is being held up just slightly, and this has allowed Ricky Harden to really get up there. The one thing he needs to worry about is, as Tommy actually tries to get by the lap traffic on the backstretch, I'm surprised Bates is not lifting here to let him through. Now he's going to get by. And this is unfortunately going to hold up Ricky Harden, so all that hard work now, he's going to lose.
Yeah, but for every yin there's a yang, honestly. Bryce Whitson held up Tommy, and now Alex Bates is holding up Ricky. He's really holding up Ricky. So this is kind of going to put the gap back to where it was before. Yeah, I'm really surprised Alex hasn't let Ricky by here. I'm sure Ricky's not too pleased about that.
No, and has to get very aggressive there.
Yeah, Alex could have easily pulled over on the front stretch and let Ricky by. So the gap grows out a bit again. It's still not that much. It's about 1.5 seconds, I would say. But yeah, Ricky's going to have to do a lot of work in the last 5 laps to run him back down there.
Yeah, Ricky Harden took the Jim Fuss line down into 1, nearly below the curbing there, and slid right out wide, didn't care that the 45 was there, drove him off track to show his displeasure, but it is going to hurt him at the stripe. It was 8/10. I can imagine it would have been less if that lap machine wasn't there. So Harden does lose a little bit of time. He can still see Tommy Ryan right in front of him. This thing is still well a race, and gets sideways there, coming off of board number 6, now up to the left-hander 7, and down again that very long Mario Andretti straight away again the heavy braking area, the S's, and then obviously the final corner. But this time by the stripe, guys, we're closing in. It's going to be only 4 laps remaining, so Ricky Harden, the clock's ticking.
And the good news for those who like a good, clean, fair race is that there's no more lap traffic, really, because the next truck in front of these guys is Gary Whitson, and he is working his way down through turns 2 and 3 right now, whereas these guys are just crossing the line. Tommy Ryan had an 8/10 of the second lead last lap around. This lap around, he's been able to extend that to 2.4 seconds due to that lap traffic. I have a feeling he's going to have to make a mistake for Ricky to win this one, Joe.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of work to pull in these few laps that are left. And actually, he's going to make it harder on himself.
Wow, can he save it? Yes, he can. I always thought that if you go off the grass there that your day was done, but these drivers have proven me wrong today.
Yeah, I've seen people save it there before, and it's like I said, you have to kind of keep a cool head and just be on it as soon as you see it happening, because the more you fight it, the worse it's going to get.
Cody Gibson has officially retired from the race, taking us down to 10 trucks. Ricky Harden, obviously, his hopes of winning this race are pretty much gone unless Tommy Ryan makes a big error. And unfortunately, that breaks up really the only battle that was left in the field for us.
Yeah, and actually, Bryce Whitson Jr. just had another off in Moss Corner as he comes back on without incident back into 6th place. You know, one of the things I was going to talk about as Ricky was getting close, but I guess it's not as important now, is when you start to drive a race against a car that you're catching up to like that, you have to be wary about trying to race that car, as we call it. Your focus has to be on the track no matter what. You can't let your eyes just stick on that rear spoiler of that car. You kind of have to keep your eye on your brake markers, your turn-in points, and race your race, not theirs.
Evan, I've got to be honest, I've been impressed with, we've certainly seen our fair share of incidents today, but I've been impressed as Ricky Harden actually goes off in turn 2 again. I've been impressed with how these drivers have been able to get through this race. They're certainly not familiar with road course racing, yet at the same time we still see 10 trucks running, and until a moment ago we had a good 2-way fight for the win.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the 13 of Gary Whitson, because if you look at the back of these trucks, I can't say I'm surprised at who's running up front. The top 3 guys are either A-class or B-class road course racers, so they have those license stripes. 4th on back, only 1 driver is higher than a D-class license on the road course. So obviously, if you're familiar with the iRacing service, road and oval, 2 very different directions you can go. This series obviously being an oval-oriented series, so you can't be surprised at Tommy Ryan, Ricky Harden, Jonathan Cadell doing solid. But again, all these other guys that aren't familiar with these road courses have adapted very well, and a lot of them are toughing through this thing, even with a lot of damage, trying to get all those spots that they can.
2 laps to go. Tommy Ryan crosses the line. I believe this is the first ever time I've seen him in the ASRS, so obviously he doesn't really have a hope of making the chase and actually stealing, I think, a few bonus points away from those that do. But who cares? I mean, if you win a race, you earned it, and the drivers would have had to go out and beat him fair and square if they wanted those points, and providing Tommy wins this race, they weren't able to do that. And I'll tell you, I've been very impressed with his racing. He's been smooth. He hasn't made really any mistakes, and maybe we will see him back in oval races in the future. I don't know how much of an oval racer he is.
Yeah, Evan brought up an interesting point off aside about road course ringers, and it's almost kind of reminds me of being the small kid in gym class. If you're not that good on the ovals, maybe you're a mid-packer or something. I remember I ran distance, and as soon as we had those long distance days, all those football players were struggling, and I was having a breeze. And I feel like we're seeing the same thing with these road course guys. They're kind of putting a bit of school in on some of these oval guys.
Well, the number 16 truck about to take a white flag. He has a 12-second lead, so he could almost coast or grab a drink or something and probably still come back with the win of this race. There he goes. He crosses the line, starts the final lap.
White flag out for Tommy Ryan, and maybe he's got a little bit of champagne in his room that he can start uncorking as he finishes here.
Yeah, works his way through turn 2, which is really the turn I'm always worried about. He lost 2 seconds that lap to Ricky Harding.
Oh yeah, he is.
I'm guessing he's coasting.
He's easing off. He knows that there's no reason to push at this point. Just cruise it home safe and clean. Watching the attitude of his car as he exits 3.
Oh, wait, Ricky Harding just ran into the back of Alex Bates, and Alex almost spins around. They will say that now he gets into the wall a little bit. But yeah, Ricky Harding getting held up by the lap truck of Alex Bates.
Well,
and,
remember, those guys had history. That's the 45 that held him up earlier. Maybe a little bit of payback.
It did kind of look like that. He stuck his car right behind him when he was offline. So I think he was giving a little bit of, hey, thanks for that earlier.
Well, Ricky usually comes and talks to us after the race, so we'll wait and see what he's about to say about that. Meanwhile, Tommy Ryan has just finished going down the backstretch, a couple of turns left here, and he will be your winner. Here he comes, through the left-hander, through the right-hander in just a moment's time. And Tommy Ryan is going to exit the turn. The ASRS Camping World Truck Series win here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Congratulations, Tommy. Meanwhile, Carson Narbe has retired from the race, but he will be ranked on 10th place anyway. Ricky Harding is across the line, a well-deserved second, but I think he wanted a little bit more.
Oh, definitely. I have no doubt of that. It might be a little bit heated up from what we saw inside that cockpit. Jonathan Cadell, just to show you how big of the gap it is out on the course there, 39 seconds back, and he's coming here up in third just now coming to the final corner.
Well, let's not forget he made 2 pit stops, so that he may have been a bit closer had he not made that extra pit stop. I don't know, grab a drink or something. Well done on him. And then our final lead lap finisher is going to be Gabby Whitson in 4th place, and then rounding out the top 5 is Alex Bates. I mean, honestly, Gary Whitson could stop on the track now and he would still be credited with 4th, but that's not the fun way to do it. I'm sure he wants to take a checkered flag. He's going to navigate his way through these final 2 turns here at MoSport. And meanwhile, behind him, the only truck is Tommy Ryan going flat out. I guess he's in a hurry to get back to the front stretch so you can do some burnouts. But Gary Whitson finishes 4th place. We'll come back with a full rundown after this break. Hello and welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where we just saw a pretty interesting 32-lap race here amongst 13 ASRS drivers, and the victor was Tommy Ryan by 12 seconds over Ricky Hardin and Jonathan Cadell, 40 seconds back after making 2 pit stops during the race. He rounds out the top 3. Gary Whitson in 4th place, and Alex Bates, 1 lap down, rounds out the top 5, Joe.
In 6th, it was Bryce Whitson Jr., followed by Jim Foose in 7th. Aaron Kleinhams took home 8th, with Tim Knott in 9th, and Carson Abe rounding out the top 10, Evan.
And then 3 more trucks in the field. 11th position, Cody Gibson finishes 15 back. 19 laps down, 12th spot, David Gibson and Michael Trobrook. And to round out our 13-truck field, he comes home at the back of the pack.
And we have got our top 3 finishers here in the interview booth to talk about their race. And the first of all is going to be our winner, Tommy Ryan. Tommy, congratulations.
Appreciate it, guys. That was a ton of fun out there today.
I've got to say, this is the first time I think I've seen you in this series. Would you consider yourself a road course runner?
No, not really. I dabble in it from time to time, but I wouldn't consider myself a road ringer at all.
Well, you certainly had us fooled. Very great racing out there today. Ricky got close to you at times, though. How hard was he pushing you? Were you finding yourself making mistakes?
Well, he was charging the corners a lot harder and burning fuel, and I knew that me and Ricky are actually teammates, and he was just trying to basically stay with me there, and I was just cruising for the most part, not trying to push the truck. And I think it was real crazy at times when if you get the rear end wheel hopping or something like that, it would step out and get away from you if you weren't careful. So my goal was just to keep it on the asphalt, really.
Well, you did a great job of that. So you've already seen how bad my memory is. How many races have you done with the ASRS this season, and how many do you think we'll continue to see you do throughout the rest of the year?
I've raced with them a couple times, and mainly just schedule conflicts and whatnot. But plan on doing a lot more. I raced last night as well, and did pretty good. I was running up near the front, near the end of the race, and bunch of chaos happened, but you know how that is near the end of those oval races. But plan on doing a good bit more.
All right, well, we look forward to it. Congratulations on your win today. It was very well done. Now we are going to hand it over to Joe Peak to interview our 2nd place finisher, Ricky Hardin.
Ricky, our eyes were firmly glued to that battle between you and Tommy in the latter half of the race, and you were really putting the pressure on. Do you feel like the lap traffic was really the critical moment in that, or do you think that other things could have thrown away a potential win there?
Well, first of all, Tommy pretty much had me covered. He was faster than I was. He was really just kind of cruising, and I knew that. I was trying to get to him, and I knew if I could get to him, maybe he would make some mistakes. But yeah, the lap traffic was definitely the difference. I really felt like it was kind of unsportsmanlike for the 45 to basically block me, and I lost a second and a half to him at that point.
We saw a few laps later when you came back around to him that there might have been a little bit of love tap. Was that intentional heading into turn 3?
I wouldn't say it was intentional, but he was there, and I needed that, so I moved him.
All right. Well, 2nd place is still nothing to scoff at. I mean, these trucks are very tricky around this place. So again, congratulations, and this will at least give you a nice little points haul.
Yep, it's a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, for doing the broadcast. Thanks, Jim, for putting this series on. It's a lot of fun. I look forward to racing again soon.
Back to you, Sam.
Yeah, we're going to hand it over to Evan Pasoko now to interview our 3rd place finisher, Jonathan Cadell.
We've caught up with the driver of the 29, the Jonathan Cadell in the flesh down here, finishing 3rd place. Jonathan, last time you were here with the ASRS guys this season was Milwaukee, coming out to the road course. I know you're a solid road course driver. Walk us through the night. How'd you end up at that 3rd place spot?
Well,
My son starts 6th grade next week, and he's going to have a basic math class. And I think I need to go with him because I totally messed up my fuel calculation and had to do an extra pit there. But Ricky and Tommy there, they were the class of the field, and I knew I wasn't going to catch them, but I had a big enough lead on 4th place, so I just decided to pull it in there and pit. But I just tried to run my line best I could and come home with a dang 3rd place finish.
How, in your opinion, does this Canadian Tire Motorsports Park stack up amongst your list of either favorites or least favorites on the road courses?
It's in the middle, I would say. It's very difficult to get down, and I didn't get much time to practice today. And turn 2 there was just very tricky, and it's so easy to overdrive here. And I think with a little more practice, I could have saved my tires more. But this is definitely not one of my favorites.
What are the plans for you and the Strutmasters.com team for the ASRS Truck Series moving forward here in this season?
Well, I'm gonna run, whenever I can. My main focus is on Monday nights this year, but I've been, like a journeyman driver over at ASRS. Whenever I get the time or my boss, aka the wife, lets me race, I'll come over here and run a few laps. So just run whenever I can. He's a good group of guys to race with.
Fair enough. Well, obviously we said Strutmasters on the truck. Who else you want to thank?
Well, I'd like to thank, like I said, Strutmasters.com. They are a real big help with me here in sim racing. And I'd like to thank Jim Foose for being Jim Foose. He's the apple of my eye.
And definitely, well, congratulations on the top 3 finish, and we'll keep an eye out to see you in the 29 truck on track here in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Samuel, that's Jonathan Cadelli is going to walk away with the top 3 finish tonight.
And I'm very glad that you interviewed him, Evan, because I think we would have had some accent issues if I had interviewed him. But who I will talk to is Jim Foose here, who came home with a bit of a beat-up truck tonight. Jim, how was your night?
Well, the Menards Chevy Silverado Chevy was real good. Early on, the tires just fell off. They were telling us, the spotter was telling us that the tires were going to fall off pretty quick, and that they were seeing it with the leaders. And as soon as they told me that was going on, it was like somebody flipped a light switch on this thing, and it was a whole different animal from what we were at the beginning of the race.
So Jim Foose, you do a lot running this ASRS league. How do you think the road course went down by the series standards, and will we continue to see road courses in the future?
Oh, absolutely, we'll see road courses in the future. So far next year we have 4 dates. 3 in our current, it's called the Herbalife Series, which is based off the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and then we have, of course, this one in the Truck Series. And I wouldn't be too surprised if you've seen something that was maybe a dedicated road course series from us, possibly running on Tuesday nights, utilizing the Chevy Corvette and the Cadillac CTSV. But that's just me talking, I don't know.
Chevrolet. Hey Jim, I brought up a point a couple of times during this race. I wasn't actually sure if winning this series pays bonus points towards the chase. Could you explain to our viewers how that works?
You get, I believe it's 3 points per race win when the chase starts. And then there's actually penalty points if a driver misses a race without taking a provisional. So if they just completely blow off a race, or they join the series later into the season and they don't get credited with starting an event, a provisional would be a start basically. Then there's I think it's a 15-point dock that they get right at the beginning of the chase.
Alright, well, we hope that penalty doesn't affect anyone too much, but we'll get to find out in just a few weeks here. 1 round left, Chicagoland next time out, and we're looking forward to it. Alright, well, that was your league organizer, Jim Foose, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast today, and before we say goodbye, we have a few people we would like to thank, and one of those is Jim Foose, as well as the rest of the organizers of this league, the ASRS. It's a very enjoyable league to commentate too. Great racing, and you got to see that today. We would also like to thank the makers of the various software and hardware that help make this stream possible: iRacing.com, XSplit, Audio Technica, and Ava Media. Thanks to the team today, Kevin, Evan, and Joe. And if you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. A big thanks to Dougie Beard for creating the camera sets that you saw during the stream, and a special thank you to Eric Etcombe, who provides us with much of our music. You can find it not only here on GSRC, but in TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes, and Spotify. If you like the music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericetcombe.com. Our next race in the series will be in 2 weeks' time at Chicagoland on 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, September 10th. That's 2 weeks away. But before then, we have some more broadcasts on GSRC. Our next one, granted, won't be till Monday. That will be the Northwest Majors, but it will be worth waiting for, because it will be with the Gen 6 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series cars at Darlington Raceway at night. That will be 6 p.m. Pacific time, and that's because that's the Northwest Majors, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, September 5th, the iSuper Speedway Series will be back in action, 10 p.m. Eastern time, with the Gen 6 Cup cars at Talladega Super Speedway. Next Saturday, September 6th, the greatest day of the year, my birthday, the MX-5 World Tour will be back in action. That's the Blondie Series, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. They will be starting their new season at Circuit of the Americas, the West configuration. And also that day, September 6th, the greatest day of the year, the Continental Endurance Sports Car Series will be racing at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time at Indianapolis Road Course, and that is a mix of Miatas and Mustangs. Next Sunday, September 7th, the worst day of the year, will be the VSRA, and they will be racing the Rileys at Road Atlanta on 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday, September 7th. So until then, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.